Decoding Dreams, from Ancient Prophecies to Modern Science. Forget everything you think you know about dreams. Are they really ancient prophecies and divine messages? Or are they just random electrical sparks in your brain, as modern science suggests? In this video, we track the fascinating evolution of dream interpretation step by step, from the mystical omens of ancient civilizations to the groundbreaking discoveries of modern neuroscience. Even when awake, the human mind is a complex universe. But dreams, those scenes that emerge during sleep, represent the most slippery and elusive side of that universe. Dreaming isn't just a random slideshow of images. It is an internal stage where emotions, memories, instincts, fears, and desires collide. It is a place where logic retreats and symbols take over. Since the dawn of time, this stage has been viewed as both sacred and dangerous, both fascinating and disturbing. Almost everyone remembers a dream that haunted them long after waking up. The lump in your throat when you dream of losing a loved one. The jolt of your body as you dream of falling. Standing, paralyzed at the door of an exam you can never quite reach. Even when sunlight hits these images, the feeling remains. This proves that the brain processes the dream as a real experience. The mystery starts right here. A scene that isn't real feels like reality itself. The fact that universal dream themes repeat across almost all cultures suggests that dreaming isn't just about individual life. Falling, being chased, being naked in public, getting lost, flying, being late. These themes appear in the minds of millions of people across different geographies, languages, and religions. This shared experience implies that dreams are tied to the fundamental wiring of the human mind, perhaps even our shared biological and psychological heritage. The fundamental question has never changed. Why do these images exist? For the ancient human, this meant trying to understand what the gods were saying. For the modern human, it is a quest to catch clues about the internal systems of memory and emotion. A dream is the living form of one of our oldest questions. Who am I? How does my mind actually work? And what is it hiding from me at night? To understand the history of dreams, we must look at how the first great civilizations interpreted the night. For ancient societies like Mesopotamia, Babylon, Assyria, and Egypt, a dream was one of the oldest and most effective channels of communication between gods and humans. Back then, a king's dream wasn't just a personal experience, it was a sign important enough to determine the fate of a nation. We know that dreams were recorded in detail on Mesopotamian tablets. These tablets contain hundreds of lines starting with, "If you see this in your dream, then that will happen." The type of an animal, how it walks, the color of the sky, whether it rains, even a broken object was interpreted as an omen for the future. These systematic records turned dream interpretation into a state science. In ancient Egypt, dreams were the voice of the gods. Temples held incubation rituals. where people would sleep specifically to receive a dream before making important decisions. A person would pray, sleep in a sacred space, and share what they saw with the priests in the morning. Papyrus scrolls known as dream books listed the meanings of symbols. Running from a snake might mean coming under the protection of a specific god, while entering water was associated with cleansing and rebirth. In ancient Greece, dreams were tools for both medicine and prophecy. In healing temples called Asclepieians, patients would sleep through the night, and their dreams would be interpreted by priest-physicians in the morning. Seeing a god in a dream was considered a sign of the correct treatment. At prophecy centers, especially the famous Delphi, dreams were accepted as part of divine will. Even decisions of war and peace could be shaped by signs received in dreams. From the perspective of these ancient empires, a dream was not a trivial mental process disconnected from daily life. It was the direct language of fate. When the gods spoke, people dreamed, and they felt safe as long as they could decode this language. Therefore, the first historical records of dreams are actually an early mirror of humanity's understanding of God, fate, and the future. Islamic civilization produced a rich body of work, handling dreams within both spiritual and rational frameworks. The tripartite distinction regarding the source of dreams, divine dreams, psychological dreams, and demonic confusions offers a nuanced understanding that accepts the dream experience is not one-dimensional. Within this framework, some dreams are seen as messengers and guides, while others are reflections of daily thoughts, and some are merely confusing internal noise. One of the most important names in dream interpretation in the Islamic world is the scholar known as Ibn Sirin. The works attributed to him are among the early studies that systematized dream interpretation. According to Ibn Sirin, interpreting a dream isn't just about looking up symbols in a dictionary. The interpreter must consider the dreamer's temperament, life circumstances, social status, and state of mind. Because the same dream can carry completely different meanings for different people. This approach is surprisingly close to the concept of individual analysis in modern psychology. Historically, dreams in the Islamic world were not just tools for individual guidance, but effective elements in social and political life. A sultan's dream could steer important state decisions. A commander's dream before a battle could raise the army's morale or create anxiety. Historical texts describe great scholars changing the direction of their scientific work, inspired by dreams or important discoveries, beginning with a curiosity intensified by a dream. In Islamic thought, the dream is also part of internal accounting. While listening to their own dream, a person finds the opportunity to look back at their life, intentions, and behaviors. The reason dreams are taken so seriously is that they are seen as a window opening to both the inner world and the metaphysical realm. Thus, the dream becomes neither solely a phenomenon reduced to brain chemistry, nor entirely a supernatural message. It stands as a threshold pointing in both directions. The late 19th and early 20th centuries marked a major breaking point in the fate of dreams. This time, the stage was taken not by priests talking to gods, but by psychoanalysts examining the dark regions of the human mind. Sigmund Freud interpreted dreams not as the language of the sacred, but as the language of the unconscious, radically changing our understanding. According to Freud, dreams are the emergence of repressed desires, unacceptable emotions, and thoughts that cannot find a place in consciousness, disguised in symbolic forms. Things repressed during the day find life indirectly on the dream stage at night. That is why dreams may seem absurd, chaotic, and strange at first glance. This confusion is actually the result of the mind's internal censorship mechanism. The unconscious cannot express itself directly, so it uses symbols, metaphors, and associations. Freud handles dreams in two layers: manifest content and latent content. Manifest content is the dream the person remembers, the visible face of the dream. Latent content is the actual desire, conflict, or fear lying beneath these images. For example, scenes like climbing stairs, opening a door, or passing through a narrow corridor might be symbols of the person's repressed sexual, social, or power-related desires. To solve the meaning of the dream, one must see how the symbols point to this hidden content. Freud's approach transforms the dream from a message sent by gods into a message the human sends to themselves. Interpreting a dream now means confronting one's own inner world. This perspective formed one of the cornerstones of modern psychotherapy. Even today, many therapeutic approaches try to understand patterns in the unconscious by examining clients' dreams. Thus, the dream has become a unique window for psychological analysis rather than a sacred prophecy. Carl Gustav Jung, who started as Freud's student but later parted ways, argued that dreams are fed not only by the individual unconscious, but also by humanity's shared spiritual heritage. According to Jung, every human possesses not only an unconscious, carrying their own unique memories and experiences, but also a collective unconscious shared with all humanity. Dreams are the stage where universal symbols accumulated in this collective area, known as archetypes, appear. Archetypes are figures and motifs that repeat in all cultures, such as the mother, the father, the hero, the shadow, the wise old man, and the child. A dark entity threatening a person in a dream is, according to Jung, not just an individual fear. It is also a confrontation with the person's own shadow side, the parts of themselves they do not want to accept. Similarly, a wise old guide figure symbolizes the inner guidance needed on the person's life path. This perspective lifts the dream from being a random sum of personal experiences and connects it with humanity's thousands of years of mythological, religious, and cultural accumulation. For Jung, examining dreams also means trying to understand myths, epics, religious narratives, and fairy tales. because the same archetypal themes show themselves in both dreams and these societal narratives. Jung's understanding of dreams emphasizes human spiritual development. Dreams call the person to a process of integration. They try to bridge the gap between consciousness and the unconscious. When a person takes their dreams seriously and begins to learn their language, they start listening more carefully to their inner world. This process prepares the ground for the individual to establish a more sincere, honest, and deep relationship with themselves. Thus, dreams gain meaning not just as dark messages of the unconscious, but as guides accompanying the human on the journey of maturation. With the development of technology from the mid-20th century onwards, dreams became a phenomenon that could be measured and recorded, not just told. Thanks to devices recording brain waves, eye movements, muscle tone, and heart rhythm, the stages of sleep could be examined in detail. These studies revealed that dreams are concentrated especially during the sleep period, where rapid eye movements are observed. During REM sleep, some regions of the brain exhibit activity very similar to the waking state. Areas related to emotional processing, visual centers, and structures related to memory are extremely active, while regions related to logic, planning, and attention to the outside world are relatively less active. This uneven distribution explains why dreams are emotionally intense and visually vivid, but logically inconsistent. Neuroscience research shows that memory networks are reorganized during dreaming. Experiences lived during the day, especially those that are emotionally significant, are replayed over and over throughout the night. During this time, some synaptic connections are strengthened, while others are weakened. This process is a kind of mental editing mechanism that determines which information will be recorded in long-term memory and which will be deleted. Furthermore, distinct changes are observed in the chemical substances secreted during dreaming. The levels of some neurotransmitters drop, while others rise. This chemical balance is thought to affect the emotional tone, flow speed, and recall degree of dreams. Thus, the dream has become something that can be examined as a biological process, not just a psychological story. While science gives increasingly clear answers to the question of how a dream is formed, the answer to the question of why is not yet fully solved. Experimental studies conducted in recent years strongly support that dreams are closely related to memory and learning processes. It has been repeatedly shown that people who get a good night's sleep after learning new information remember it more solidly the next day. This suggests that the brain rehearses what it has learned during sleep, reinforcing it by processing it again and again. The role of dreams in memory is not limited to reinforcing information. It also helps organize memories that carry an emotional load. The fact that people who have experienced a traumatic event see this event repeatedly in their dreams can be interpreted as part of the brain's effort to reprocess this experience from different angles. Over time, the tone of dreams may change. Scenes that were initially terrifying may become more distant more symbolic, poignant, but less frightening. This change is the neurobiological equivalent of emotional healing. Examples of dreams supporting creative problem-solving have also been recorded throughout history. Many scientists, artists, and thinkers describe finding an important idea or solution in their dreams. During dreaming, the brain is somewhat liberated from the rigid rules and habitual thought patterns of the real world. Thus, it can establish new connections between seemingly irrelevant pieces of information. This paves the way for the birth of unexpected, original, and creative ideas. From this perspective, dreams are like the hidden architects of memory. They classify information, process emotion, and rearrange meaning. The invisible work carried out by dreams at night is just as critical as the visible face of the life we live during the day. The human mind continues to build itself in both light and dark, both in wakefulness and in dreams. One of the most intriguing phenomena of the dream realm is the lucid dream experience, where the person is aware that they are dreaming and can direct the flow of the dream to a certain extent. During a lucid dream, the person has a level of awareness to say, "I am dreaming right now." Yet they do not wake up and continue to stay in the dream environment. This situation can be seen as an unusual combination of consciousness and the dream state. Scientific studies have shown that during lucid dreaming, there is an activation in some regions of the brain similar to wakefulness. Areas related to self-monitoring, decision-making, and attention processes are more active compared to the normal dream state. This transforms the dream from a passively experienced event into a stage that can be managed to a certain degree. The person can choose to fly, move from one location to another, change a horror scene, or try to solve a specific problem by visualizing it. Lucid dreaming is not only an interesting consciousness experience, but also carries potential for psychology and education. Especially people suffering from recurring nightmares can learn lucid dreaming techniques to transform frightening scenes within the dream and face threatening figures with a stronger attitude. This contributes to the sleep experience turning from a source of fear into a healing space. Some researchers suggest that lucid dreaming can also be used in the mental rehearsal of motor skills. There are findings that athletes who repeatedly perform a movement in a dream are more successful at that movement in real life. Thus, lucid dreaming can be evaluated as a unique mental laboratory that both pushes the limits of consciousness and expands the possibilities of self-improvement. Dreams are not always peaceful, aesthetic, and inspiring. Some nights, dark tableaus that trigger humans' deepest fears appear on the stage of the mind. Nightmares are shaking dreams accompanied by intense anxiety, terror, guilt, or feelings of helplessness. Such dreams can cause a person to interrupt their sleep, wake up in a sweat, or even become afraid to sleep. The origin of nightmares has been attempted to be explained from both biological and psychological perspectives. According to one view, nightmares are an evolutionary mechanism in which the brain rehearses dangerous situations. For our ancestors, being chased by a wild animal or falling carried a real risk of death. The brain might be testing possible reactions by simulating this threat in a dream. Modern human nightmares, on the other hand, are often symbolic forms of current anxieties such as work, family, health, war, and disaster. Sleep paralysis is one of the most striking experiences related to dreams. The person feels awake, perceives their surroundings, but cannot move their body. This situation is sometimes experienced with a feeling of pressure on the chest, an intense perception of a presence in the room, and even auditory or visual hallucinations. Throughout history, this experience has been explained by supernatural narratives such as demons, incubi, or night creatures. However, modern neuroscience shows that sleep paralysis is a temporary synchronization error between the brain's wakefulness and dream states. While the body is still in dream paralysis, the mind is partially waking up. Nightmares and sleep paralysis are closely related to mental health. Intense stress, trauma history, anxiety disorders, and irregular sleep patterns can increase the frequency of such dream experiences. However, these experiences also carry important signals about the person's spiritual state. Therefore, the dark side of dreams, while disturbing on one hand, can also function as a warning pointing to knots that need to be untied in our inner world. The 21st century has opened a completely different door in dream research. We no longer just listen to dream narratives. We can also record the signals produced by the brain while dreaming in detail. Thanks to advanced brain imaging methods and artificial intelligence-based analysis techniques, an increasingly clear picture is forming of which brain regions work with what kind of pattern during dreaming. In some experiments, people are shown various visuals while awake, and their brain activities are recorded. Then similar records are taken while these people are dreaming. Artificial intelligence models analyze the similarities between these two data sets and can produce rough estimates of the visual content of the dream. Although these studies are still in a very early stage, they offer a strong prediction that a kind of video recording of dreams may be possible in the future. Furthermore, research is being conducted on the conscious direction of dreams. It has been observed that dream content can be partially changed using specific sound warnings, light patterns, or scents. In the future, the use of such techniques may come to the agenda in areas such as trauma therapy, addiction treatment, management of anxiety disorders, and support for creativity. These possibilities regarding the future of dreams also bring ethical questions. Intervening in a human's dream from the outside, recording or analyzing dream content, requires discussing concepts of privacy and freedom all over again. Nevertheless, it seems that dreams are no longer private experiences hidden in the individual's inner world, but have turned into a common research area for science and technology. This indicates that dreams will be one of the hottest topics in the adventure of understanding the human mind in the coming centuries. The fact that dreaming is not unique to humans raises striking questions about the evolutionary origin of dreams. Cats and dogs twitching their whiskers, moving their paws, or even acting as if running while sleeping. Birds exhibiting rapid eye movements during sleep. These show that dreamlike states are common among mammals and birds. It is unlikely that a behavior seen in so many species has no evolutionary function. According to one view, dreams were a threat simulation area that increased our ancestors' survival skills. Throughout the night, attacks, chases, and risky situations that could be encountered in real life were visualized in the mind. The individual rehearsed responding to these situations in their mind without taking physical risks. Thanks to this, it was possible to react faster and more effectively to a threat suddenly encountered during the day. Chasing, falling, or trying to run, but being unable to move dreams, which are frequently seen today, can be interpreted as shadows of this ancient biological heritage. Another possible function of the evolutionary biology of dreams relates to social relationships and community life. The human species is a creature living in complex social structures. Guessing others' intentions, interpreting facial expressions, and visualizing possible future scenarios played a critical role in our species' success. Dreams may be areas where such social and emotional scenarios are repeated throughout the night, and emotional reactions are rehearsed. Reliving an argument in a dream, seeing a loss repeatedly, or saying what could not be said to someone in a dream can be thought of as part of the brain's effort to cope with social reality. From this perspective, the dream is not a useless remnant left aside by evolution. It may be a mental tool that supported our species' ability to survive, adapt, and regulate relationships. Those strange stories seen in the dark of night are actually like silent training scenes prepared for us to survive during the day. Understanding dreams is not possible without understanding the structure of sleep. Sleep is not a single piece, homogeneous state. It is a dynamic process consisting of phases that follow each other and are characterized by different brain activities. These cycles, repeated several times throughout the night, generally include deep sleep phases and dream-heavy phases where rapid eye movements are seen. Slow wave sleep, also known as deep sleep, is the period when the body is physiologically renewed, tissues are repaired, and the immune system is strengthened. In this phase, brain waves slow down, sensitivity to external stimuli decreases, and the person becomes more resistant to being woken up. Dreams can also be seen in this phase, but they are usually fainter, less dramatic, and more scattered. REM sleep is the phase where the mind comes to the forefront, and dreams are experienced most intensely and vividly. During this period, while some regions of the brain work almost as if awake, the large muscle groups of the body are in a state of temporary paralysis. This paralysis ensures safety by preventing the person from physically acting out what they do in their dream. At the same time, this phase plays a critical role in the processing of memory, emotion, and creative associations. When the delicate balance of sleep cycles is disturbed, both body and mind start to react in a short time. Constantly interrupted sleep, the habit of staying awake until late hours, Excessive exposure to artificial light and irregular sleep hours also affect dream patterns. The increase in dreams in some periods, becoming more vivid or darker, may be a reflection of changes in living conditions. Therefore, understanding the architecture of sleep makes it possible to understand not only the content of dreams, but also when, with what intensity, and how they are seen. Dreams are not just private experiences lived and finished in the individual's mind. They are also part of the common narratives shaped by cultures. Throughout history, many societies have viewed the dream as a sacred space, a bridge where the soul steps out of the body and contacts other realms. Therefore, rich rituals, ceremonies, and oral traditions have formed around dreams. In shamanic cultures, the dream is one of the fundamental tools of spiritual travel. The shaman enters a dream-like state of consciousness through trance, and in this state is believed to communicate with spirits, ancestors, or nature forces. These experiences are accepted as guides for the community's health, hunting success, war decisions, or spiritual balance. In many traditions from the Central Asian steppes to North American natives, the ability to dream has been associated with spiritual power. In some African tribes, dreams are evaluated as spaces where the voice of ancestors is carried to the present day. An ancestor figure seen in a dream can be counted as reporting a value the community has neglected, a tradition about to be forgotten, or an approaching danger. In Far Eastern traditions, dreams have sometimes been interpreted as the working face of karma, and sometimes as a stop in the process of internal enlightenment. The meaning of a dream is tightly connected not only to the individual's psychology, but also to the worldview of the culture they are in. Even in the modern world, dreams continue to be a strong source of inspiration in many fields, from cinema to literature, painting to psychology. Although scientific explanations try to place the dream into biological and psychological categories, the cultural and symbolic dimension of the dream still maintains its vitality. This shows that dreams are not just temporary images appearing in our minds at night, but deep and multi-layered narratives carrying humanity's common story. And this entire journey shows us this. Dreams are neither merely the prophetic whispers of ancient times, nor are they a simple neurobiological phenomenon that can be solved in the cold laboratories of modern science. Dreams are a unique mirror that keeps the oldest questions of the human mind alive even today. There, the broken pieces of our memory meet the collective heritage of our ancestors. The dark corridors of the subconscious walk side by side with the artificial intelligence technologies of the future. Dreams are a silent teacher that tells of human fears, desires, losses, and hopes in its own language. And perhaps that is why, inside those plays of light and shadow, seen in the deepest hours of the night, the traces of the common story of all humanity are hidden. To understand the dream is to understand the human. And every time humanity takes a step to understand itself, civilization grows a little more, and the unknown is illuminated a little more.